Welcome to another deep dive. This time, you've sent us this chapter from the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to admit, it's a
classic.
Not exactly light reading.
No.
But don't worry, we're here to unlock that ancient wisdom, right? Hidden within these pages.
That's right.
So think of this classic as like the OG guide
Yeah.
to traditional Chinese medicine, dating back over 2,000 years.
It's considered like a foundational text in traditional Chinese medicine.
Wow.
It offers insights into how ancient Chinese physicians viewed the body, health, and illness.
And from what I've, skimmed through, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Right? This idea of keeping the body's energies just flowing smoothly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic really delves into the concept of the 5 organs.
Okay.
Heart, lungs, liver, spleen, and kidneys. But not just in like the anatomical sense. It connects each organ to a specific like energetic function.
Okay.
Spirit, ki, blood, form, and will.
So it's like a deeper level of understanding than just the physical organ itself.
Yes.
So tell me, where does illness come from?
Okay.
According to this ancient text.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic suggests that illness stems from imbalances.
Okay.
In these 5 key areas. Think of it like a symphony orchestra.
Okay.
If one instrument is out of tune or playing too loudly, it kind of disrupts the entire harmony.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So too much of something or not enough can throw the whole system off.
Exactly.
Let's take the spirit, for example.
Okay.
What happens when that's out of whack?
The text provides a vivid example.
Okay.
Excessive spirit manifests as uncontrollable laughter.
Okay.
Almost bordering on mania.
Really?
Yeah, you might be picturing someone giddy and carefree.
Right.
But the Yellow Emperor's Classic sees this as an imbalance.
Oh.
A disruption of inner harmony.
Wow, that's a very different perspective.
Yeah.
I guess too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. What about when the spirit is deficient?
The text links deficient spirit to profound sadness and melancholy. Imagine someone so overwhelmed with sorrow that their energy is just depleted, their light dimmed.
Yeah.
It paints a pretty powerful picture of how emotional extremes can impact our well-being.
It definitely challenges the idea that laughter is always the best medicine.
Yeah.
So how did they address these imbalances back then?
Well, the Yellow Emperor's Classic emphasizes acupuncture as a primary method for restoring balance. They saw it as a way to regulate the flow of qi and blood through the meridians, which are like these energetic pathways throughout the body.
So acupuncture acts like a conductor, guiding the energy where it needs to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
The idea is to drain excess where it's built up and supplement where there's deficiency.
I'm curious about the specifics.
Okay.
Does the text actually describe different acupuncture techniques?
It does, and some of them are quite intriguing. For instance, to treat excessive spirit, the text recommends bleeding small collateral vessels.
What?
Imagine these as tiny, delicate branches stemming from the main meridians.
So it's like gently releasing pressure without disrupting the main flow.
Precisely.
Okay.
They understood the importance of subtlety and precision in acupuncture.
What about deficient spirit?
Yeah.
How do you supplement that with needles?
For deficient spirit, they would guide qi to the deficient areas through gentle needling without actually drawing blood.
Okay.
It's almost like coaxing the energy back into balance.
Yeah.
One technique even involved the acupuncturist inserting the needle and telling the patient, "I shall go deeper."
Wait, really? It sounds almost psychological.
It might have been a way to activate the patient's awareness and encourage their own qi to respond.
Interesting.
Remember, this system of medicine recognizes the powerful connection between the mind and body.
Okay, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another area. What about qi? I know it's a big concept in traditional Chinese medicine.
It is.
But I'm still not totally clear on what it actually is.
Think of qi as your vital life force energy. The animating force that flows through everything. It's what keeps you going, powers your organs, even influences your emotions.
Okay, so it's like the battery that keeps us running.
Yeah, I like that.
What happens when our qi is out of balance?
According to the text, excessive qi can manifest as respiratory issues.
Okay.
Like wheezing, coughing, and shortness of breath. It's like your energy is overflowing and causing congestion.
So your battery is overcharged.
Yeah.
And it's short-circuiting the system.
That's a great way to put it.
And on the flip side, Deficient Qi presents as constant fatigue, difficulty breathing, even a feeling of weakness in the limbs.
Yes.
It's like your battery is drained and can't power your system properly.
That's a great analogy.
So it's like the difference between feeling wired and wiped out. Fascinating.
Yeah.
And I assume they had acupuncture techniques for these imbalances as well.
Absolutely. For excessive Qi, they would drain the meridians to release the buildup, but without damaging the vessels or spilling blood.
Okay.
They understood the importance of preserving this vital energy.
Makes sense. What about deficient Qi? How did they approach that?
For deficient Qi, they focused on supplementing and retaining whatever Qi was left.
Okay.
It's a much gentler approach.
Gotcha.
Like coaxing a delicate flame back to life.
It sounds like they really understood the nuances of working with this energy.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about spirit and Qi. What about blood? Is it simply the physical substance?
Okay.
Or does it have a deeper energetic meaning in this context?
In traditional Chinese medicine, blood is seen as more than just the red fluid that circulates in our veins. It's considered a vital life force, deeply connected to our emotional and mental well-being.
Okay, so it's not just about oxygen and nutrients.
No, it's much more than that.
What happens when our blood is out of balance?
The text links excessive blood to anger and irritability, suggesting that an overabundance of this life force can lead to emotional volatility.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe road rage is really just a blood imbalance.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions.
Okay, fair enough.
But it does raise some interesting questions about how our physical and emotional states are intertwined.
It definitely does. What about deficient blood? What does that look like?
The Yellow Emperor's Classic connects deficient blood to fear and anxiety.
Okay.
It's as if without enough of this vital force, we lack courage and feel vulnerable.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful connection.
Yeah.
So how did they treat blood imbalances with acupuncture?
They were very precise in their approach.
Okay.
For excessive blood, they would drain the affected meridians to release the excess.
Okay.
But for deficient blood, the treatment involved a very delicate technique. The acupuncturist would insert the needle into the vessel, hold it briefly, and then quickly withdraw it.
Wow.
All while ensuring that no blood was lost.
It sounds almost like a magic trick.
It does, doesn't it?
Okay, we've covered spirit, Qi, and blood. What about form? What exactly does that refer to in this context?
Form refers to the physical structure of the body, the flesh and bones. Think of it as the foundation upon which everything else rests.
So it's like the blueprint of our physical being.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
What happens when form is out of balance?
The text describes excess in form as manifesting as abdominal distension, even difficulty urinating.
Wow.
And deficiency in form manifests as weakness and difficulty using the limbs. It's as if the foundation is weak and the structure can't properly support itself.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. How did they treat these form imbalances?
They had specific techniques for each. To address excess form, they would drain the yang meridians, which are associated with more active and energetic qualities.
And for deficient form?
Deficient form was treated by supplementing the yang collaterals, which are like the smaller branches of the meridians, nourishing the foundation from the ground up. Okay,
I'm starting to see the patterns here.
Yeah.
So we've covered spirit, Qi, blood, and form.
Right.
What about the last area, Will? That seems like a more abstract concept.
It is.
Yeah.
Will, in this context, refers to our willpower, our determination, and our ability to manifest our intentions. The Yellow Emperor's Classic suggests that this force, too, can be excessive or deficient, with profound effects on our well-being.
I'm really intrigued by this.
Yeah.
What happens when our will is excessive?
Interestingly, the text links excessive will to abdominal swelling and diarrhea.
Really?
Yes.
Diarrhea?
Yeah.
That seems like a strange connection to willpower.
It might seem counterintuitive, but remember, this is an ancient perspective.
Right.
Diarrhea in traditional Chinese medicine is often seen as a sign of imbalance in the digestive system, which is closely tied to the spleen.
Right.
So if the spleen is associated with form, and excessive will disrupts the digestive system, it ultimately impacts our physical form.
Okay, I see the connection there. And on the flip side, deficient will manifests as cold extremities and even fainting. So too much will disrupts our digestive fire,
Yeah.
while too little leaves us cold and weak.
Precisely. It's like a delicate balance between assertiveness and surrender,
Yeah.
between pushing forward and letting go.
I like that.
And just like with the other areas, the text offers specific acupuncture techniques to address these imbalances.
Okay.
For excessive will, they would drain the sinews and blood, while for deficient will, they would supplement a specific acupuncture point called Fuliu,
Okay.
which is located on the kidney meridian.
That's fascinating.
It is.
It's like they had a map of the body's energy system
Yeah,
and knew exactly which points to target to restore harmony.
precisely.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
exploring the 5 areas of spirit, ki, blood, form, and will, and how they can be either excessive or deficient.
Exactly.
But I'm curious to know more about what causes these imbalances in the first place.
Okay.
What does the Yellow Emperor's Classic say about the underlying factors at play?
Well, the text points to several factors, including the improper combination of blood and ki, yin and yang imbalances, and both external and internal factors.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Let's start with the improper combination of blood and qui.
Okay.
What exactly does that mean?
The text explains that when blood and ki combine improperly, it disrupts the harmonious flow of energy in the body. It's like mixing oil and water.
Yeah.
They just don't blend well together.
Right.
This can create a kind of energetic traffic jam, leading to blockages and imbalances.
Okay, I see the analogy.
Yeah.
So what about yin and yang?
Okay.
I know they're fundamental concepts in traditional Chinese medicine,
They are.
but I'm still a little fuzzy on what they actually mean.
Yin and yang represent the two opposing yet complementary forces that govern all aspects of existence.
Okay.
Think of yin as the cool, passive, receptive energy, like the shade of a tree or the stillness of night.
Okay.
Yang, on the other hand, is the warm, active, expansive energy,
Gotcha.
like the sun's rays or the movement of a river.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
So what happens when yin and yang are out of balance?
That's when things start to go wrong in the body.
Yeah.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic explains that when qi, which is associated with yang, dominates yin, it leads to excess.
Okay.
And conversely, when blood, which is associated with yin, dominates yang, it creates deficiency.
Gotcha.
It's like a seesaw. One side goes up, the other goes down.
This idea of one force dominating the other is really interesting.
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out in our lives today?
We can see it in everything from our work-life balance to our emotional states.
Yeah.
For example, someone who's constantly working, pushing themselves to achieve, might be in a state of yang excess, leading to burnout and exhaustion.
So they're like a runaway train.
Exactly.
All yang energy, no yin to balance it out.
Exact.
And on the flip side, someone who's withdrawn, passive, and lacking motivation might be experiencing yin excess.
Exactly.
Okay, I see the connection. Yeah. So it's not just about these ancient concepts, but about how they manifest in our modern lives.
Absolutely.
But the text also mentions external and internal factors as causes of imbalance.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic recognizes that we're not just isolated beings, but part of a larger web of influence. External factors like weather, climate, and even the seasons can impact our internal balance.
So a cold winter day could literally chill our ki.
Precisely.
Wow.
And on the flip side, a hot summer day could create excess heat in the body.
Right.
The text even describes how wind and rain can invade the body.
Really?
Penetrating the skin.
Wow.
And disrupting the flow of ki and blood.
It's like nature itself can throw us off balance.
Exactly.
What about internal factors? What role do they play?
Internal factors refer to our own thoughts, emotions, and lifestyle choices. For example, the text links excessive grief or consuming cold food and drinks to ki deficiency.
So even our own choices can contribute to these imbalances.
Exactly.
I never thought about how something as simple as drinking a cold smoothie could impact my ki.
It's a reminder that even seemingly small choices can have a ripple effect on our overall well-being.
It's fascinating.
And the Yellow Emperor's Classic encourages us to be mindful of these choices, recognizing that we have the power to cultivate balance through our actions.
Okay, that's empowering.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
Exploring the causes of imbalance, from the improper combination of blood and qui
Right.
to yin and yang imbalances, to external and internal factors.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious to delve deeper into these concepts of excess and deficiency.
Okay.
The text seems to suggest that both can exist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible?
That's a great question. And it's one that the Yellow Emperor himself asked.
Really?
Yeah, he was puzzled by the idea that blood and qi could both be deficient while simultaneously causing excess.
Okay.
He wanted to know if there was even such a thing as true excess.
So what did the wise Qibo say? How did he explain this paradox?
Qibo replied that excess exists where there is abundance.
Okay.
And deficiency exists where there is lack.
Okay.
He explained that when qi gathers excessively, blood is absent, creating deficiency.
Right.
And when blood gathers excessively, qi is absent, also resulting in deficiency.
So it's like a trade-off. One force becomes so dominant that it crowds out the other, creating a deficiency in the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Qibo goes on to explain that when blood and qi separate, it always results in deficiency.
Gotcha.
But when the smaller vessels fill and merge with the main meridians, blood and qi combine, creating a state of excess.
So excess is like an overflow.
Yes.
While deficiency is a separation.
That's a great way to put it.
Wow.
And Qibo warns that when blood and qi flow upward together in excess, it can lead to a condition called doju, or great reversal, which can result in sudden death.
Wow, that sounds serious.
Yes.
So it's not just about feeling a little off balance, but potentially life-threatening.
It can be, especially in extreme cases.
Wow.
But Qibo also emphasizes that if qi is restored and reverses its flow, life can be preserved.
So there's hope, even in those dire situations.
Always. Traditional Chinese medicine is ultimately about restoring balance. And promoting harmony within the body.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
But I'm still curious about the pathways of excess and deficiency.
Okay.
Where do they come from? How do they originate?
Well, Qibo explains that both yin and yang have their points of union.
Okay.
And when yang infuses into yin and yin overflows outward, it creates a state of balance where all the pulses are harmonious.
Okay.
But when imbalance arises, it can originate in either yin or yang.
So it's like a delicate dance between these two forces?
Exactly.
Okay.
And Qibo further clarifies that yang-related disorders are often caused by external factors like wind, rain, cold, and heat.
Right.
While yin-related disorders tend to arise from internal factors like improper diet, emotional disturbances, and lifestyle choices.
So it's a combination of nature and nurture.
Yeah.
Right. Our internal state and the external environment both play a role in our health. Okay, and the Yellow Emperor's Classic goes on to provide even more detail.
It does.
About how these external and internal factors manifest in the body.
Yes.
Okay, let's dive into those details.
Okay.
First up, external factors. How do things like wind and rain harm the body?
Qibo describes a fascinating process where wind and rain first invade the skin, then penetrate the smaller collateral vessels. From there, they move into the larger network vessels, and finally, if left unchecked, they enter the major meridians where blood and qi combine with the pathogen and occupy the interstitial spaces.
Wait, so it's like a step-by-step invasion?
Exactly.
Right.
The text explains that this invasion causes the pulse to become firm and large, which is a sign of excess.
Right.
And excess, as we've discussed, is characterized by external firmness and fullness.
Okay.
When you press on the area, it feels painful.
Okay, so that's wind and rain.
Yeah.
What about cold and dampness? How do they mess with our system?
Well, according to Qibo, when cold and dampness invade, the skin contracts and the muscles become stiff and tight. The nutritive blood, known as yin qi, stagnates, and the protective qi, known as wei qi, dissipates, resulting in deficiency.
Okay.
And deficiency, as we've learned, is marked by soft and pliable areas.
Gotcha.
When you press on them, warmth returns and the pain diminishes.
So cold and dampness make us weak and vulnerable.
Exactly.
They sap our vitality and make us more susceptible to other pathogens.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about internal factors?
Okay.
How does our inner landscape contribute to these imbalances?
Well, Qibo explains that when emotions like joy and anger are unregulated, yin qi rises excessively.
Really?
This upward movement drains the lower body, creating deficiency below and excess above.
So our emotions can literally pull energy up or down in our bodies.
That's what the text suggests.
That's what.
And It also links excessive joy and grief to qi deficiency, especially when combined with cold food or drink.
So it's not just about the emotions themselves,
Right.
but also how we manage them.
Yeah.
And the choices we make in response to them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic is all about understanding these interconnected layers of influence on our health and well-being.
Okay. I'm really starting to appreciate the depth and complexity of this ancient system.
Me too.
But let's go back to the quote you mentioned earlier about yin and yang deficiency and excess causing cold and heat.
Okay.
Can you explain that a bit more? I'm still a little confused about how that works.
Sure.
It seems counterintuitive that excess could lead to cold and deficiency to heat.
It does seem paradoxical.
Yeah.
But the key is understanding how these imbalances disrupt the flow of qi in blood and how that ultimately affects the body's temperature regulation.
Okay.
Remember the upper burner we discussed earlier?
Right. The body's internal furnace.
Exactly. Yeah. The Yellow Emperor's Classic explains that when yang is deficient, external cold arises because the upper burner becomes obstructed.
Right.
This prevents the warming qi from reaching the surface, resulting in chills and a feeling of coldness.
So it's like the pilot light has gone out.
Yes.
And the heat can't circulate properly.
That's a great analogy.
And on the flip side, when yin is deficient, internal heat arises.
Exactly.
This is often due to overwork, fatigue, or poor digestion, which weakens our physical energy and allows heat to build up inside.
Right.
It's like the body is running on overdrive, generating excess heat that it can't release.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay, I see the connection there.
Yeah.
What about when there's excess yang?
Okay.
How does that translate to external heat?
When yang is excessive, it's like the body's thermostat is stuck on high.
Okay.
The pores close up, preventing the release of heat.
Right.
And the protective qi, or wei qi, can't circulate properly. Yeah.
This leads to a buildup of heat on the surface, resulting in fever, sweating, and other symptoms of external heat.
So it's like the body's cooling system is overwhelmed.
Precisely.
And finally, when yin is excessive, it can lead to internal cold.
That's right.
This is because the accumulation of cold energy in the chest prevents the smooth flow of qi and blood.
Yes.
Imagine a river that's frozen over.
Okay.
The water can't flow freely.
Right.
And everything becomes stagnant.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, I'm starting to see the patterns here.
Yeah.
It's all about the flow of qi, blood, yin and yang, and how they interact with both internal and external factors.
Exactly.
This is giving me a whole new appreciation for how complex our bodies really are.
It is a beautifully intricate system.
It is.
And the Yellow Emperor's Classic highlights how these imbalances can manifest in different ways.
Right.
Depending on which organs and meridians are involved.
Okay.
It even mentions the 6 bowels and their relationship to the 5 organs. Wait, 6 bowels? Hold on.
Yeah.
We're going to need to dive into that a little further.
Okay.
Let's pick up right there in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good. You're right. We can't just gloss over the 6 bowels.
Right.
In traditional Chinese medicine, they're not seen as simply waste disposal units.
Okay.
They actually play a vital role in transforming and transporting food and fluids, extracting energy, and eliminating what's not needed.
So they're like the behind-the-scenes crew, keeping everything running smoothly.
Exactly. And each bowel is paired with one of the 5 organs, forming an internal-external relationship.
Okay.
For example, the stomach, which breaks down food, is paired with the spleen, which extracts nutrients and energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what happens when this relationship gets out of whack?
Imagine a factory where the raw materials aren't being processed properly or the finished products aren't being shipped out efficiently. The whole system gets backed up and things start to go wrong.
Yeah.
Similarly, if the bowels aren't functioning properly, it can impact the organs and vice versa.
Gotcha.
This can lead to a whole range of digestive issues, from bloating and constipation to diarrhea and even more serious conditions.
So it's another layer of this interconnected web of energy and function.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the idea of treating these imbalances.
Okay.
We talked about acupuncture as a primary method.
Yeah.
But are there other ways to restore balance?
The Yellow Emperor's Classic mentions other approaches like heat therapy, massage, and even specific techniques like burning needles to reach deeper levels of disharmony.
Wow.
But even beyond these physical interventions, The text emphasizes the importance of aligning our lives with the natural rhythms of the seasons.
Right. We touched on that earlier. It's
Yeah.
about syncing our internal rhythms
Yeah.
with the external rhythms of nature.
Exactly.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
Think about it this way. Each season has its own unique energy.
Okay.
Spring is a time of growth and expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Summer is about warmth and activity.
Right.
Autumn is for harvest and contraction.
Okay.
And winter is about rest and rejuvenation.
Gotcha.
Aligning with these seasons means adapting our diet activities and even our emotional outlook
Okay.
to harmonize with these natural shifts.
So it's like dressing for the weather,
Yeah,
but for our internal landscape.
that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
For example, in spring,
Yeah.
when yang energy is rising, it's important to eat lighter foods,
Okay.
get more exercise,
Right.
and engage in activities that promote growth and expansion.
And what about in winter, when yin energy is dominant?
Winter is a time for conserving energy,
Okay.
eating warming foods,
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on rest and introspection.
Right.
It's a time to nourish the kidneys, which are considered the storehouse of vital energy in traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay, I see the connection.
Yeah.
It's like giving our bodies what they need to thrive in each season, rather than fighting against the natural flow.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the Yellow Emperor's Classic provides specific recommendations for each season, guiding us towards a more harmonious way of life.
It makes me wonder if a lot of the health issues we experience today are a result of being out of sync with these natural rhythms.
I agree.
We're constantly bombarded with artificial light, temperature-controlled environments,
Right.
and a 247 work culture.
Absolutely.
It's no wonder our bodies are confused.
That's a really interesting observation.
Yeah.
The text also emphasizes that ignoring these rhythms can make us more susceptible to illness.
Right.
It's almost like our immune systems are weakened when we're out of sync with nature.
So getting back to basics.
Yeah.
Paying attention to the seasons and making simple adjustments to our diet and lifestyle could make a big difference in our overall well-being.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much wisdom we can glean from this ancient text.
It is remarkable, isn't it? And we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Right.
Remember how we were discussing the complexity of excess and deficiency coexisting?
Yeah.
Well, the text goes on to describe how these imbalances can manifest as either cold or heat in the body.
Okay, I remember that part, but I have to admit,
Yeah.
I'm still a bit fuzzy on how that works.
Okay.
It seems counterintuitive that excess could lead to cold and deficiency to heat.
It does seem paradoxical.
Yeah.
But the key is understanding how these imbalances disrupt the flow of qi and blood, and how that ultimately affects the body's temperature regulation.
Yeah.
Remember the upper burner we discussed earlier?
Right, the body's internal furnace.
Exactly.
Wow.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic explains that when yang is deficient, external cold arises because the upper burner becomes obstructed.
Right.
This prevents the warming kai from reaching the surface,
Yeah.
resulting in chills and a feeling of coldness.
So it's like the pilot light has gone out.
Yes.
And the heat can't circulate properly.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And on the flip side, when yin is deficient, internal heat arises.
Right.
This is often due to overwork, fatigue, or poor digestion,
Okay.
which weakens our physical energy
Right.
and allows heat to build up inside.
Okay.
It's like the body is running on overdrive, generating excess heat that it can't release.
Okay, that makes sense. What about when there's excess yang?
Okay.
How does that translate to external heat?
When yang is excessive, it's like the body's thermostat is stuck on high.
Right.
The pores close up, preventing the release of heat.
Okay.
And the protective qi or wei qi can't circulate properly.
Yeah.
This leads to a buildup of heat on the surface, resulting in fever, sweating, and other symptoms of external heat.
So it's like the body's cooling system is overwhelmed.
Precisely.
Okay.
And finally, when yin is excessive, it can lead to internal cold.
Right.
This is because the accumulation of cold energy in the chest prevents the smooth flow of qi and blood.
Yeah.
Imagine a river that's frozen over.
Right.
The water can't flow freely, and everything becomes stagnant.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about feeling hot or cold,
Right.
but about understanding how these temperature imbalances reflect deeper energetic patterns. It's
Exactly.
all about the interplay of yin and yang, blood and qi, And the internal and external factors that influence our well-being.
Exactly. And the Yellow Emperor's Classic provides a framework for understanding these complex interactions and how they manifest in different ways.
This text really offers a unique perspective on health and healing.
It does.
It's not just about treating symptoms, but about restoring balance and harmony within the whole system.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know more about how they actually approached treating these imbalances.
Okay.
We talked about acupuncture and other methods.
Yeah.
But did they have specific strategies
Did
for addressing these combined yin and yang disorders?
And one of the key principles was to target the root of the imbalance rather than just chasing symptoms. Qibo, the Yellow Emperor's wise physician, emphasized that treatment should focus on regulating the flow of qi and blood through the meridians.
So it's like clearing the energetic pathways and restoring the natural flow.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also stressed the importance of aligning the treatment method with the seasonal balance of abundance and decline. For example, in spring, when energy is expanding outward, they would use techniques to promote growth and circulation.
And in autumn, when energy is contracting inward, they would focus on nourishing and consolidating.
Precisely. It's about working with the natural cycles of nature to support the body's innate healing abilities.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how did they actually go about draining excess and supplementing deficiency in these combined disorders?
Qibo explains that for draining excess, the acupuncturist would insert the needle at the point of qi stagnation, open the pathway, and release the obstruction. The idea was to clear the root and allow pathogenic qi time to exit.
And for supplementing deficiency.
The approach was much more gentle. The acupuncturist would insert the needle carefully, maintaining precise control, guiding qi into the deficient area, and sealing the pathway to prevent the escape of vital energy.
So it's like a two-pronged approach. Release what's blocked and replenish what's lacking.
Exactly. And Qibo highlighted the importance of using specific techniques and acupoint combinations to address different types of imbalances.
We've talked a lot about the 5 organs and their energetic functions, but what about the 12 meridians? How do they fit into this whole system?
The 12 meridians are like a network of energetic rivers flowing through the body and connecting the organs to each other and to the surface. They act as pathways for qi and blood, influencing all aspects of our health.
So they're like the circulatory system of our energy body.
Exactly. And just like the blood vessels can become blocked or depleted, so too can the meridians.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do the meridians relate to the 5 organs and the principles of excess and deficiency?
Okay.
We briefly mentioned that the text says each meridian has 365 acupoints.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the days of the year.
Yeah.
Is that just a coincidence?
That's a fascinating observation, and one that has sparked much debate and discussion over the centuries.
Wow.
Some scholars believe it's simply a coincidence, while others see it as a symbolic representation of the interconnectedness between the human body and the cycles of nature.
So it's a bit of a mystery.
Perhaps, but it's a mystery that invites us to contemplate the deeper connections between ourselves and the cosmos.
I like that.
What's fascinating is that this idea of mirroring the natural world within the human body is a recurring theme in the Yellow Emperor's Classic.
Right. We talked about aligning our lives with the seasons, but how does that connect to the acupoints?
Well, some scholars suggest that each acupoint might correspond to a specific day.
Wow.
Or even a specific moment in time, reflecting the subtle energetic shifts that occur throughout the year. If you think about it, there are so many cyclical patterns in nature. The days and nights, the phases of the moon, the tides. It's not so far-fetched to think that our bodies might also reflect these rhythms.
Wow, that's a mind-blowing concept. So it's like our bodies are a microcosm of the universe, and the acupoints are like tiny portals. That connect us to these larger cosmic forces.
Precisely.
Wow.
And by understanding these connections, we can tap into the body's innate healing power and live in greater harmony with ourselves and the natural world.
This deep dive is really opening my mind to a whole new way of thinking about health and well-being.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's not just about treating symptoms, but about understanding the interconnectedness of everything and working with the body's natural rhythms.
I think that's a key takeaway from the Yellow Emperor's Classic.
Yeah.
It encourages us to move beyond purely physical understanding of the body.
Okay.
And to embrace a more holistic perspective that encompasses the energetic, emotional, spiritual dimensions of our being.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to delve even deeper into this ancient wisdom. But for now, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Agreed. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Okay.
To continue our journey.
Sounds good.
Into the fascinating world of ancient Chinese medical wisdom. All right, we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into the Yellow Emperor's Classic.
I know, it's been fascinating, right?
It has been such a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
Through this ancient text, exploring everything from the 5 organs and their energetic functions to yin and yang, the meridians, and the importance of aligning with the seasons.
Absolutely.
And we even talked about the 5 spirits, the Hun, Po, Yi, Shen, and Zi, which add another layer of depth to this holistic system of medicine.
There's so much to learn.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
What stands out to you as the most important takeaway from this exploration?
For me, it's the emphasis on interconnectedness.
Okay.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic reminds us that we're not just a collection of separate parts, but an integrated whole.
Yeah.
Our physical health is intimately linked to our emotional and mental well-being, and we're constantly influenced by both internal and external factors.
It's like a giant web.
Yeah.
Where every strand is connected to every other strand.
Exactly.
And if one part of the web is disrupted, the whole system feels the effects.
Exactly.
That's why it's so important to take a holistic approach to health.
Absolutely.
It's not just about treating symptoms, but about understanding the underlying causes of imbalance and addressing them at their root.
I agree.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But how do we actually apply this ancient wisdom to our modern lives?
Okay.
I mean, we're not living in ancient China anymore.
True.
We have different lifestyles, different diets, different stressors.
We do, that's true.
So,
but the fundamental principles still hold true.
Okay.
It starts with awareness by understanding the basics of traditional Chinese medicine.
Right.
We can become more attuned to the subtle signals our bodies are sending us.
So paying attention to how we feel, both physically and emotionally.
Precisely.
Okay. Are you constantly tired?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have digestive issues?
Yeah.
Do you struggle with anxiety or insomnia?
Right.
These could all be signs of imbalance.
Gotcha.
That need to be addressed.
And then we can use the principles we've learned from the Yellow Emperor's Classic to guide our choices, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about making choices that support our overall well-being.
Mm-hmm.
This could mean eating a balanced diet, getting enough sleep, managing stress, or engaging in activities that bring us joy and nourish our spirits.
But what if you're feeling out of balance?
Yeah.
And you can't get to an acupuncturist or herbalist?
Right.
Are there things we can do on our own?
Absolutely. To restore harmony.
Remember, this ancient text places a huge emphasis on lifestyle.
Okay.
Start by simply observing what throws you off balance.
Okay.
Is it too much screen time?
Mm-hmm.
Not enough time in nature?
Yeah.
Are you pushing yourself too hard?
Right.
Or are you holding back and not expressing your full potential?
I know, those are definitely things I struggle with.
I hear ya.
What else might the Yellow Emperor's Classic suggest?
Think back to the imbalances we discussed, feeling scattered and indecisive.
Yeah.
Maybe you need more grounding activities.
Okay.
Like cooking, gardening, or spending time in nature.
Right.
Anxious and irritable.
Mm-hmm.
Gentle exercise like Tai Chi or Qigong could be beneficial.
So it's about paying attention to how different foods, activities, and even environments make us feel.
Exactly.
And then experimenting to find what works best for us.
Exactly.
Okay.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic would encourage you to trust your intuition and listen to your body's wisdom. It's about becoming an active participant in your own health and well-being.
Right.
Rather than just a passive recipient of medical care.
It's like we're rediscovering the innate wisdom that's been within us all along.
I love that.
This ancient text offers such a unique lens for understanding our well-being.
It does.
What if we all approached our health
by
considering not just our physical symptoms, but also the balance of our spirit, ki, blood, form, and will?
It's a powerful invitation to shift our perspective and embrace a more holistic approach to health and healing.
I agree.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key to living a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the wisdom of the Yellow Emperor's Classic.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And remember, stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating world of traditional Chinese medicine.